you please just brief me what is the subject is all about?
Okay. This subject is about new media and ICT, new media technologies and ICT. So we'll have a quick revision today. Okay, what is exactly new media and ICT? Well, let's wait for 3 minutes, another 3 minutes. We'll start the class at 3:10.
ICT. What is ICT stands for, ma'am?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let's start the class. See, today we'll have a quick overview of what is internet reporting and multimedia storytelling. And then after that, we'll have a revision, quick revision of what all we have gone through in the series of lectures. Right. So let's start. See, according to a research, 1 second. Yeah. Let me share a PPT. I think there is some problem with the sharing option here. So let me try again later. See, according to a research, and the internet has now surpassed newspapers, as a leading source of news. And around 40% of people get most of their news from the web, which is, it is up from 24%. And virtually every media sector, apart from the internet, is slowly losing its attention. And the recent survey, it also says that journalists are now ready and even more eager to embrace these new technologies. So a multimedia story, we can tell a multimedia story in 5 steps. So step 1 would be to first to choose a story. Okay, so the best candidates for multimedia packages are multidimensional, like see video, audio, infographics, charts, etc. And interactive elements can all help enhance the story. And another one is non-linear. See, newspaper readership drops with each graph, so why not let the audience jump around the tidbit to tidbit. So as in print, multiple entry points are important. Okay, So in a good package, there is no first part or second part. You can engage the audiences by letting them look at what's most important to them first. Okay. See, a journalist, wants to travel all over to cover the assigned beat, right? So how do you rope, make his trip engaging? For example, see, if you're going to cover a story a year after a shootout, so you are asked to talk to survivors and people who knew the dead. Okay, so how do you tell these stories? See, that you have to discuss. And then see, another one is, another story is, for example, if your organization is covering the ins and outs of PhD admissions and its fallout on research scholars, so there are a lot of details to share here. So how do you do it? See, each feature, they covers a different aspect of, users can choose the stories that interest them. Then the non-linear parts, the stories don't depend on, one another to be understood, and neither do individual parts with the stories. So video, audio, images and graphics are used wherever it's necessary. And a long text piece is broken up into readable sections. And another thing is, nothing gets buried there. Tabs and links are the shortcuts. You have to, incorporate all these elements into your story. Okay. So we won't do anything this advanced, right? But you should study it. What makes this effective? Which principles can you use here in these stories? Okay. See, for creating a storyboard, in step 2 is, after choosing a story or topic, next step is choosing, and creating a storyboard. We discussed earlier what is a storyboard, right? It's a pictorial representation of. So see, you should fashion a storyboard of multimedia possibilities, before heading out into the field. So you have to conduct preliminary interviews and get a basic idea of what to expect in the field, and then look up anything your sources have published in print or on the web. And then another thing is, you have to collect visuals and then photos, videos, maps and graphics from your sources or from the web also, okay, to get an idea of potential story components. Then you can also track down any previous stories on the topic. You can track from anywhere. You can, refer the print version, video, radio or web, anywhere. Okay. Then you have to define the elements. How do you define the elements? You need to divide the story, up into parts such as nut graph or explaining your focus, your background information on people involved, etc. See, for example, you have to look for, are there any compelling visuals, or is there a process involved, that you can illustrate with graphics. Okay, so would a map be useful, etc. So you can define those elements and divide your story into parts. Then you need to, after dividing the story, you need to identify the media. See, video is best for showing action. Okay, it takes audiences to a place central to the story. And then audio, if it's good, it adds to video and slideshows. Okay, if it's bad, it takes away. So audiences forgive bad video there before they'll forgive bad audio. Okay, so you should take care of the aspect, take care of the surrounding audio. Okay, then a text is good for, binding a story together by offering background information or any other details that can't or should not be conveyed, through other media. Okay, then photographs, they are the best media for displaying strong emotion and keeping the mood. So video goes by quickly, but photos illustrate the point of the story. So add audio and you can enhance the mood, make it, panoramic, and you put the reader there. And graphics, they, show how stuff works. So they can chart, important figures, display abstract ideas, and then you can also animate them, and they can take you, where cameras can't go. Okay. So it would be, adding graphics and animation would make it more interesting and appealing to the audience. Okay, then you can use maps. Maps can show you, important locations. For example, if it's a war zone, or they can be coupled with other information such as, statistics, and keep this in mind for when you make Google Maps. Okay, then actually storyboard, the concept is, see, you're working with a lot of media elements here. So the more complicated your piece gets, the better off you'll be, sketching out your different media and thinking about how users will navigate through them. If you don't, you'll risk burying the media and confusing users, right? You need to take care here. And step 3 is reporting with multimedia. So you are a multimedia journalist now, heading out into the field for a big story that will utilize all of the elements we just discussed. Okay. So what do you think you need? You need to plan accordingly. See, uh, for example, you'll need equipment. Okay, equipments can include batteries, cables, a computer, audio recorder, video and still cameras, microphones, memory sticks and tapes, and you would require tripod, external hard drive, cell phone lenses, and of course GPS also. So you're a multimedia journalist now, but don't forget the old school, like bring notebooks and writing instruments. Okay, pen and paper. So step 4 would be the editing for the web. See, for the videos, you need to keep them short. An average length of video elements on newspaper sites being 2 to 3 minutes. And editing can take 3 to 4 hours. Okay, it's a lengthy process. So it's a lot like television. Like show talking heads for a few seconds and then you can navigate and skip to the other part. Okay, and for audio, editing for the audio, use only high quality audio. One exception here is, very old historic recordings necessary to your piece can be included here. And you can use subtitles with the audio if you have no other option, or to reinforce an important point. Okay. And then avoid using background music for straight news pieces. Okay. See, web compression will already take away from your sound, and music will make it even more worse. So you need to keep in mind, okay, before using this background music. And for the text, editing for the text, the comfort zone, for print people, the medium they fall back on when they are unsure what else to do. So text is fine for headers, captions, and a good, nut graph and background. But be sure to, supplement it with audio and or visual. If it makes sense, then only you can incorporate all these elements together. And remember how, this newspaper's readership falls with each graph. See, by shortening your text, breaking it up with older elements or other elements, you can keep people interested, okay, like the background story. But, text only works best for political or economic stories, analysis, or op-ed pieces and short updates. It would not, kill you to throw into a photo though, but wherever necessary, you can elaborate the text. And for editing photos, see, the web is a visual medium, right? So be sure to include photos wherever possible, and use photos to replace 1,000 words, right? A picture, that as in a picture speaks more than words. So images are not just there to make things pretty; they, help explain things better. So photos can be used two ways. It can be used individually to set a mood, or in groups to tell stories, as with slideshows as well. Because the slideshows take a complicated topic and simplifies it with pictures, right? So it's a best option here to use slideshows. And for editing graphics, graphics, they are not just still images anymore. You can make graphics interactive here. You can use clickable maps or navigable locations rendered in 3D, etc. So creating your own interactivity takes time, obviously. So generally, flash animated graphics are the centerpiece, if not the only part of a story, whereas a Google map usually supplements a larger story. So think whether the map is just part of the story used to illustrate where something or things that have happened. Okay. And step 5 is the producing the story. See, multimedia journalists, they have multiple editors. Okay, there are your actual editors, and then there are your designers and web developers. Okay, you can't and are not usually expected to do it all yourself, except in this scenario. You have to collaborative work with all these developers, designers, and they fine tune the layout, help with technical glitches, and make sure the presentation follows the site style of the website style. Okay, so in a real life scenario, you will probably have open communication with these guys, so they'll often do as much work as you, but only without the byline. Okay, so be nice with them and cooperate. So this is all about multimedia reporting. Any doubts here? Okay, so we are done with the syllabus here. And for others who have joined late, we'll have a quick revision of what exactly is this course all about. Okay. Okay, Shiva, this is your first class, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we'll have a quick revision about what exactly is new media and ICT. Okay. I would give you a brief about what actually ICT and new media is and why do we call it new media, because this is a very important thing when we are talking about a new media, and especially in new media. The newness of the new media is completely justified and which is very subjective, and there are questions that we can why we call it as new media and then how it is different from the traditional media. So this is also very important when we are talking about new media and when we are saying there is a medium which is new, so how it is different from the traditional medium. Okay, so also we discussed earlier about the potential of new media. Okay, and we also discussed about new media landscape, because now there are a lot of people who are connected to internet, so people are there on social media. We also need to understand the media landscape, also transformed media landscape which happened because of convergence of new media. So what is new media? New media, I see earlier when we used to talk about the media and the traditional media, we used to talk about the different medium in isolation, which means that there was a print media, it had a different category. Then there was an audio-visual media, which had a different category. But when we are talking about this new media, we are talking about the convergence. So which means that the printed form, the text, images, and sounds were totally different categories earlier. But in new media, for instance, the internet web media constitutes all these media forms. Okay. So when we are talking about new media, it's not particularly not one media or technology which we are talking about. When we are talking about the new media, we are talking about the packaging of information. Okay, the new way of offering information to our target audiences. Okay, understood what is new media?
Yep, yep.
Okay. So what is ICT and how it is impacting different industries and some of the global trends, that are driving the development of ICT and its products. So the basic definition of what ICT is, ICT has, three words which starts with information, communication, and technology. Information is the knowledge that is obtained from reading, investigation, study, or research. Communication is the act of transmitting messages and a process whereby information is exchanged between individuals. Okay. Then coming to technology, technology is nothing but the application of science used to solve problems. So putting these three together, the information here can be referred to all sorts of posts, texts, and videos that are being shared and uploaded online. Okay, for example, Facebook post, we have messages sent, and then we have pictures being uploaded and news being uploaded, and all of these can be considered various forms of information. Okay, so this is what is ICT, new media and ICT.
Got it now.
Okay. So we also, talked about the transition from agriculture to industrial to information revolution, okay, which can be termed as primitive era, modern era, and internet era, respectively. Okay. See, mass communication, for example, all what is mass communication? All forms of external communication which are theoretically accessible to everyone. Okay, as use is made of mass media and mass communication vehicles. So the characteristics of mass communication are that it reaches a large number of people at the same time. Okay, so it is easy for the receiver to ignore the message. It is not possible to customize the message here for individual receivers. Okay, and in mass communication it is difficult to obtain feedback because it is and also we can say that mass media is relatively cheap, per receiver reached. Okay, because it is reaching to a larger audiences here. Then we have something called as message. Here the message of communication is the content, okay, one sends to the receiver. So in communication planning, one formulates the message in terms of the desired residue of the communication, okay, in the mind of the receiver. So what the message is drafted in such a way that the receiver should keep in mind, the sender should keep in mind the receiver, okay, the pulse of the receiver, and accordingly he should draft the message and send. Okay, so the message is always transmitted by a person or by other means. Okay, for example, the here for example means, in the sense we have mass communication tools, right, through electronically or print. These are the mediums of mass communication which carries the message. Okay, so the body language or the choice of the medium has to support the message. Okay, if not, the result can be counterproductive. Okay, so we can say that the medium is the message. What do you mean by medium is the message? See, a central idea of communication theories, there was a communication theorist, Marshall McLuhan, who demonstrated that each media, whether it be it print or radio or television, it is connected with a different pattern or arrangement among senses, and thus results in different awareness of perceptions. Okay, see, although the literal message of a radio report of a disaster or the television coverage of the same event may be identical, okay, but the event will be perceived differently and take on different meaning because the two media arrange the senses differently. Okay, so in this sense the medium, okay, medium is nothing but the singular form for the word media. So we can say, in this sense we can say that the medium is the message, and this message is often more important than the literal message. Okay, then we have mass media. What is mass media? Mass media refers to a diverse array of media technologies, that reach a large audiences via mass communication. And the technologies through which the communication takes place, they include a variety of outlets. Okay. Now we have the mass media. They also, apart from the traditional media, mass media include the internet media now, like blogs, message boards, podcasts, video sharing. Okay, because individuals now have a means to exposure that is comparable in scale to that previously restricted to a select group of mass media producers. Okay, and the communications audience has been viewed by some commentators there as forming a mass society with special characteristics. Okay, so that is termed as demassification of mass media. And what is demassification? Demassification is to break into elements that appeal to individuals' interest. Okay, breaking the messages according to the reader's interest. Again, communication media that reaches fragmented all niche audiences. Okay, they are known as demassified audiences as opposed to mass communication via the mass media. Okay, understood what is demassification of mass media?
Yes, sir.
Then we also discuss the term global village. Okay, see, the term global village, it has been used to express the idea that people throughout the world are interconnected through the use of new media technologies. Okay, in short, it is the world considered as a single community linked by telecommunications. So one easy example of the global village concept is the internet. Okay, see, having the internet on phones and access to free internet at libraries and cafes, so people are, they are easily able to connect via social media or email to people around the world. So being truly part of the global village means being connected to the worldwide communication network. So this makes it possible to know what's going on, anytime, anywhere. So while this kind of awareness can be exciting, it can also sometimes leads to stress. So this was coined by noted media scholar. The term global village was coined by McLuhan. Okay, he coined the concept of a global village. Okay, so any other doubts?
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so far,
So, we'll quickly discuss some of the terms, glossary of the terms, okay, which we have used in our all these 5 units. Okay, see, we have something called as bandwidth. Bandwidth is the amount of digitally, encoded data which can be transmitted by particular systems. Then we have something called as blogs. Blogs is user generated material on specially created programs that require no knowledge of coding and markup language. Okay, and blogs, they now it's used for variety of purposes, like from personal to political and company driven also. Okay, then we have Bluetooth. This is a wireless system which allows different products to communicate with each other using a common protocol. So it is able to transmit large amount of data, and portable computers can link to desktop computers or mobile phones via Bluetooth. Okay, you may well have a mobile phone with a Bluetooth wireless earpiece, for example. So you can also access Bluetooth in your laptops or PCs. Okay, then we have something called as broadband. It is the digital holy grail. See, all homes are linked to broadband networks, okay, which can handle huge amounts of digitally encoded data. And it should be possible to be engaged in such things, as video conferencing and downloading films in the real time simultaneously in the same household, right? So likely to take several years, to be fully developed and installed in a significant number of households. Still, it would take a lot of, you know, time. See, an important feature here, it is the ability to have two or more computers, from the same household linked to the internet. So I think, according to a survey, only we can have in a computer or a laptop in urban areas, right? Still, it will take a lot of time to reach in urban areas. And we have CD-ROMs. These are CD-ROMs are CDs which are read-only memory, and these are used for selling computer programs, and the data on them cannot be changed. We have CD rewritable. It is a CD, which can be recorded and then recorded over rather like an audio cassette. And not all CD players can replay these, however, as the system works on different layers of frequencies here. So CD writing, we have content management software. Content management software, it helps users organize their download materials. See, for example, iTunes is probably the best known of these, and it can be used to subscribe to podcast services. For example, as well, you see a place where music or video content may be purchased. Uh, you'll have one, for example, you can click the link to go to the free iTunes download site. Okay, so we have in Apple CMS. That's the content management software of Apple. iTunes is one of the example, and okay, we have one important term here, convergence. Okay, the convergence is the integration of all the traditional media, like the text, audio, video, into a single platform. It is known as convergence. Okay, see, for example, the process, in few years, the process, will have, for example, we have this mobile phones. They are now turning into multiplayer gaming machines. Okay, they are able to provide location based information and send back images, by wireless technology. So this is also one of the good example of convergent technologies right now, creating new markets. Okay, iPhone will be a good example of this convergence here. And then we also have something called as cultural citizenship. So cultural
Ma'am,
citizenship,
ma'am, which
yes,
chapter, ma'am? Which chapter?
no, this is not a chapter. One second. This is not chapter. We are just discussing the glossary of all the important terminologies which we have discussed
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
in all the 5 chapters.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you have any doubt in the earlier topics?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The Shiva, we have a student Shiva has attended today. So I was just explaining the brief about what all we have discussed. We are done with the syllabus, right? In the last class. So we are having a quick revision.
Ma'am, yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. So we have something called as cultural citizenship. Cultural citizenship, is about access to systems of representation within the arts and media to ensure that everybody have the knowledge and capabilities to represent themselves. Okay.
Ma'am, can you please come again? Can you please again elaborate?
Yeah.
Cultural community.
Cultural citizenship.
Yeah, cultural citizenship. I'm sorry for that.
Okay. You want me to repeat this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's right.
See, cultural citizenship in the sense, like people having access to all the systems of representation within the arts and media. Okay, this is a culture, right? Art and media represents culture. So the people having access to all the forms of representation. So what are the forms of representation of arts and media? It can be electronically, right? Print, electronic, or through picture, audio, video, text, right? So people who have access to all these arts and media, technologies, and to ensure that everybody have the knowledge and capabilities to represent themselves, then we can say that those people are cultural citizenship. Those people have the cultural citizenship. Those who have access to all these forms of technology. Those who are technologically literate to access all the forms of arts and media.
So thus we can call ourselves as a cultural citizens.
Then we can call them as cultural citizenship, because if they have access, see for example, if you have access to traditional forms of media, like if you have access to television, if you have access to radio, if you have access to newspaper, but you don't have access to internet, then you don't have access to all the forms of the art and media representations, right? Because internet is very important platform, right, for the representation of arts and media. Still, you won't be able to claim as yourself as cultural citizenship.
True, understood.
In order to claim yourself a cultural citizen, you need to have access to all these forms of representation, all this media.
Got it.
Yeah, you should be technically literate to access all these forms of media.
Very true. Understood.
Then you can call yourself as cultural citizen here. It's clear?
Of course, yes, ma'am. Yeah, it is.
Okay. Okay, we also dealt with digital divide. Okay, digital divide, it's a very important social and cultural concept of the information age. Okay, this term refers to those who have access to a wide range of digital communication systems in terms of cost and knowledge, and those who are excluded from this. So it is becoming a serious problem here. Digital divide in the sense, those people, the difference between people who have access to internet and the people who don't have access to internet. So this is the division between these people, digital divide. Okay, clear? Digital divide.
Yeah, the abbreviation is okay,
Yeah.
but like if you can just
Technically rich and
yeah.
technically poor. We can term them as technically rich. Or if you want me to go in detail,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the simple
see,
abbreviation suits
see
actually.
the term. I'll I'll tell you what is exactly that. See, the term digital divide. It describes the fact that the world can be divided into people who do and people who don't have access to or the capability to use the modern information technology. Okay, such as not on internet, such as the telephone or television or the internet. This is known as digital divide, and the digital divide exists between those in cities and those in rural areas today. Okay. For example, a recent study it showed that 86% of internet delivery was to the 20 largest cities, and the digital divide also exists between the educated and the uneducated. Okay, not only between the cities but educated and uneducated people, between economic classes, and globally between the more and less industrially developed nations as well. Okay, see, if you go by the definition, the digital divide refers to the difference between people who have easy access to the internet and those who do not have the access. Okay, lack of access is believed to be a disadvantage to those on the advantage side of the world, right?
Right.
Because of the huge knowledge base that can only be found online. So the digital divide appears in a number of different contexts. Okay, see, different contexts in the sense differences between rural and urban internet access, socioeconomic differences between people of different races, income, and education that affects their ability to access the internet. Then differences between developing, and emerging nations in terms of the availability of internet.
Got it.
Okay, so it's clear what is
Yep.
digital divide.
Yep. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Then we also talked about the digital set-top box. Okay, these boxes they can receive digitally transmitted TV and radio transmissions via satellite. Okay, and we have digital storage medium. This is the generic term for a wide range of storage media such as mini disk, CD, CD-ROM, hard disk, floppy disk, etc. So these media may sometimes be designed by a company to only fit their products, and others can be sometimes generic. So some will be read only such as a CD or DVD game or film. Others are random access and as such can be totally or partially used many times. Then we have digital versatile disc or DVD. It's a disc which, although the same size as a CD, it can hold many times the amount of data due to due to we can say a combination of more sophisticated data compression systems and the ability to store and retrieve data from different levels of the disk. So this means that moving images can be stored in a way which is more permanent than tape and maintain its quality over time. Whereas tape particles lose their magnetism and lose details, right? So and these days research is going on, to more than double the storage capacity of the current DVDs by using different laser technologies. And the versatility here referred to in in the name means that the equipment incorporates technical standards, which means that digital information relating to images, static or moving sounds or text can be stored and retrieved. Okay, then we have DVD audio. It's a music format which by having a higher sampling rate than conventional CDs, and it can create more natural sounding music here. Okay, so we have digital video, often called DV as an abbreviation. It is, the ability to capture moving images without the use of film on a digital storage format. And the data can be edited for the post-production and digitally and streamed into the web or put a DVD or CD. Okay, and we have a term called download. It is the expression for taking things from the internet and putting them onto your computer, either temporarily or permanently. Okay, we have a term called as encryption. This makes it possible to use media text without having specialist software or able to read the security encryption. So this is to reduce software piracy and will enable large companies to retain more effective control over their products. So digitalized products can be kept in high security systems and downloaded in encrypted form, for example by cinemas, or in WhatsApp also. We have this encryption these days. Okay, then firewalls. This is a security software which stops unwanted emails or hackers getting into your computer when it is online. So as such, it is much more sophisticated than straightforward antivirus software. It is becoming increasingly important to have this software installed as the internet grows in size and complexity day by day. We have flash memory. Flash memory, solid state memory. It exists on cards such as secure digital cards, commonly used in digital cameras, and also as USB flash drives. It is fast, versatile, and more resilient to damage by dropping than conventional hard drives. And the technology is advancing quickly, and for small computers, which firms like Samsung, they have this super Blackberries. So it is the first choice over conventional hard drives. It is their first choice. Okay. Then free to air. Free to air means digitally transmitted TV and radio services, which cost the viewer no more than the standard license fee. That is known as free to air service. We have GPS, Global Positioning System. It is the ability to find out where you are in the world through special equipment, including expensive mobile phones these days. Okay, so these link with the satellite to give a precise position. We can also see our location-based services. Okay, so these GPS satellites, they give us and commentary stored on mini CD and using MP3 data compression technology these days. And when triggered by the GPS signals, it can be connected to the car stereo as well, giving information to the driver in real time if you're traveling somewhere. So Google is a search engine. Okay, Google is an important example for a search engine. It became a member of the American stock market in 2004, and it was first started in 1998. Okay, we have HD TV. It is high definition TVs. They came on sale in Britain in a big way in the year 2006, and in the run up to the World Cup, and the quality is undoubtedly excellent. When you see one with a live HD feed, it's a real time picture there. Okay, HDTV is for it. Sometimes they also have some technical breakdown. Okay, hypertext. Hypertext is the link. Is the hyperlinking. Okay, hyperlinking across media forms to produce metaforms is hypertext. You have information filters. Information filters are the media products which review various media outputs and industrial activities to synthesize and perhaps analyze these products and processes. So these are necessary to cope with information overload. So we have as we have gatekeeping in the traditional media, we have information filters in this new media. We have information gateways. They are the service program which provides access to media filtering and media metaforms. And digital divide is sometimes known as information inequality. See, this expresses the concern that society will become polarized between the digital haves and have-nots, forming another division in society. So the lack of availability of information, or else we can say low quality information, will directly impact upon citizenship. So we have information society. Okay, information society is the new media technologies which we are using now. Many sociologists and media commentators are now suggesting that advanced Western societies are increasingly, becoming societies based upon the use of digitally stored information or data. So this is increasingly affecting all our social, cultural, and scientific systems. So Manuel Castle, they have changed their ideas of calling the contemporary society as network society. Now we have, from information society, we have moved on to network society. We have, okay, interactive elements. So what is interactive? This is, an essential term to understand. Okay, see, digital technologies, they provide a wide range of interactivity which allow audiences to interact with the media product. For example, a TV show requiring some input or the ability to access certain stories stored on news programs. Okay, so audiences can also provide feedback to media institutions, large or small, any institution, about their needs these days. They can interact, right? So they can also express their desires and concerns, and also criticisms of a media text in real time. So this means that the interactive elements have increased. People are able to interact. So we have, in this lines, we have something called as interactive TV, which means the ability to feedback information into the TV system. This requires digital technology. Typically, the flow of information is from the receiver here. We have something called as interface. Interfacing is the way in which people use technologies. For example, a mouse or keyboard is the way we usually interface with computers, right? So for game machines and consoles, a range of joysticks were developed. Then the latest way of interfacing are through digital imaging, where a digital camera can image a subject and store this in the machine, in which, in a ways that link to icons on the screen, right? So the person can trigger these icons remotely via the camera link as well. So this is the next technological step towards a more immersive environment. Both gamers and various sorts of artists, such as dancers, today they are also beginning to exploit this technology, which will become increasingly common. Okay, we have internet search engine. To navigate the internet effectively, it became necessary to invent new software to make a rapid search of the millions of domain names, okay, which are bombarded on after the start of the World Wide Web in the mid 1990s. So these include search engines such as Yahoo and MSN. We have Google Chrome now, and the most successful to date is Google. So the way in which the companies who run these make money is by selling the advertising space on these search engine websites. Okay, everybody know what is iPhone. iPod also. So we have IPTV. So IPTV, it was developed by Sony. One second. Okay. Any doubts here in all these terminologies?
No, very good.
Okay, we have LAN. This is a local area network in which two or more computers are connected together. Okay. So in the past, this has been done by installing special cards and cables to connect to computers together physically. So now this is likely to change very soon with the commercialization of Wi-Fi. Okay. So we have linear editing. Video recorders are example of this technology. Okay, so unable to immediately access any of the data, unlike see data on a hard drive. This kind of editing is very slow and there is loss of quality involved here. So to reproduce the text on the internet via digital satellite or on DVDs, the text must be digitally remastered. So that is linear editing, and the next step would be where the text must be digitally remastered would be in the non-linear editing, which is the higher version of linear editing, because linear editing may lead to loss of quality. We have location-based services. See, location-based services is the ability to be able to locate a person's mobile phone or handset by working out which cell it is nearest to, right? So we can track the location here. Information can be passed to the emergency services. For example, we have mobile network. And they uses GPS to provide more accurate positioning, right? Now with the advent of 5G, it has become much more accurate, and this information can be updated as a person moves or travel from one place to another. That is location-based services.
Another few examples may be like a Swiggy or Zomato, which
For example, if you're traveling to a new place, okay, and if you are updating your location there, so once you update the location, automatically these location based services will provide you updates about like what are the best they'll recommend few places, and what are the best restaurants or best shopping places, best malls there in the city. So those are known as location based services. And also if you these days if you lose your mobile phone, then also we can track through location based services. If you have your location on, if you have turned on your location in the mobile device, you can track your location and you can track your mobile phone as well. So wherever you move, by keeping your location on, we can track your location, right? Understood?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Now we have something called as mini disc. Mini disc is a rewritable digital recording system which can comfortably work, when mobile, if it records at half the data rate of conventional CDs, and therefore the quality is compromised here in mini disc. And the rapid rise of MP3 and iPods is rapidly making this redundant technology. So we are no longer using this mini disc. We have MP3. No, it is a digital compression system for transmitting music over the internet with short download times. Okay, and the rate of sampling is only about half as much as on conventional CDs here. So therefore, here the quality is compromised, and it is claimed that people effectively notice little or no difference if you download from the latest version of MP3. Okay. So we have non-linear editing. This is using hard disk on computers, or now dedicated hard disk digital recorders to edit sound and images. It is non-linear because any part of the information can be easily accessed, unlike in videotape, which has to be dealt with online or editing suits. So this form of editing is especially useful for digital video, enabling small scale filmmakers to create and place their products on the internet very fast and very cost effective. We also dealt with narrowband. This is a standard internet connection via dial-up modem, and maximum speed of this is 56 kilobytes of data per second. And in reality, depending upon line conditions, these modems connect at about 40 kilobits per second, and this is fine for basic email and text-based websites. And audio, video, and software downloads require broadband connections. And a disadvantage of narrowband is that the phone cannot be used at the same time. So we have switched to broadband. Okay. So you're clear with all this glossary, all these terms? So any doubts in any of the topics?
Yeah, we're fine actually.
Okay. So you want me to repeat any topic? Anyone? Anyone? We also discussed about digital formats also. I'll explain you about Shannon and Weaver model. I'll see. We have a model by the Shannon and Weaver model. See, in 1947, Claude A. Shannon was a research mathematician working for Bell Labs. He created a theory of communication designed to facilitate information transmission over telephone lines. So later, his friend Warren Weaver added the component of feedback to Shannon's linear model, thus making it in effect circular. So also, although the originally intent this model was originally intended to be used by engineers dealing with the information that was void of it was now we have the Shannon and Weaver model. It is one of the most popular interpersonal communication models used today. Okay, so to understand how the Shannon and Weaver model pertains to communication, it is necessary to define, we have few elements here. Like we have a source, we have an encoder, message, channel, decoder, receiver, noise, and feedback. These are the elements of Shannon and Weaver model. So to understand each element, starting with the source, here the source of communication is the initiator or origin of the message that puts the model into action. Okay, the source is the sender. It is an individual or group that has a specific reason to begin the communication process, right? So that is there is a message that they wish another to receive. That means the source has an intention. He has a message which he wants the receiver. The source has a message which he wants the receiver to receive and encode, right? So we have encoder. Encoder in the sense once the purpose of the source has been decided. Okay, there must be a specific format of the message to take, right? So this is what the communication encoder does. It takes the concept that the source wants to send out and puts it into a suitable format for later interpretation, right? Encoding means the job of the encoder is to put it in a proper format, uh, readable and understandable by the receiver in order to make him understand in a better way. Then we have a message. Message is the information or the idea or any concept that has been communicated from one end of the model to the other. Okay, source to the receiver. What has been transmitted here? A message. So most of the time in communication, the message contains a distinct meaning, right? So when the model was created, Shannon and Weaver were not concerned whether the message had substance, but rather that it was being transmitted. Then we have channel. Channel, it is essential for meaningful communication, that is suitable means to transmit the message by selected. So the channel is the route that the message travels on, be it verbal, written, electronic, or otherwise. Okay, it's a platform from where the message is being transmitted to the receiver. we in between this process we have something called as noise. Noise is the disturbance. Okay, see, it is inevitable that noise may come into play during the communication process. Okay, noise could be considered as, interference or distortion that changes the initial message. Anything that can, misconstruct the message may be noise. So noise can be physical, as in, an actual sound that muffles the message, as it can be a technical error, or it can be semantic, like if the vocabulary used within the message is beyond the knowledge spectrum of the recipient. So in order for communication to be effective, noise must be reduced. And we have decoder. So before the message reaches the intended recipient, it must be decoded or interpreted from its original form into, one that receiver understands. And this is essentially the same interaction as that of source and encoder, but only in a reverse sequence. We have a receiver. Receivers, in order for communication to be executed, there must be a second party, right, at the end of the channel the source has used. So the receiver takes in the message that the source has sent out, and after that they have a feedback. See, for meaningful communication to come out into action, it is vital that the receiver provides feedback to the source. Okay, so feedback relates to the source whether the message has been, received or not, and most importantly, if it has been interpreted accurately. Okay, without feedback, the source would never know if the communication was successful. So ongoing communication is made possible by the cyclical route, where, wherein feedback allows, if more communication between the two parties is necessary, they can follow the model indefinitely. Here feedback mechanism plays a very important role. Okay, so in short, we have all these elements. We have a source, we have a message, we have source, encoder, we have a channel. Channel is the platform. It can be through print. Channel, it can be any medium of transmission. Okay, receiver is the audience and the feedback. So clear about this model? Clear? Or any other doubts? Okay. Media, when we talk about media access, see, mass media may be available, but the capacity or willingness to use the media may not be there, right? So a large section of the population does not have the radio, receivers or television sets. So there's only those who have the radio sets may be treated as audience of All India Radio, and for example, and but access may not be, they may not overlap the ownership. In fact, there are many people who watch television programs at the houses of neighbors or friends or in the community centers. So groups watching a popular television program at a television shop, it's a common sight. So many families, they do not buy newspapers, but the members may read newspapers at various places, like in library, like a tea shop, or even at neighbors or friends' houses, or online. So those who have different taxes by virtue of ownership, along with those who are non-owners but get exposed in other ways, constitute the accessible audience. This is known as media access. And media exposure. See, everyone who has access to radio, television, that they necessarily does not use them, right? So in a family that subscribes to a newspaper, or everyone does not read it. So only those individuals who actually expose themselves to the media are the media audiences, right?
So,
So
hello,
again, no
madam.
one.
Today we are discussion about what the initiates about the in this lesson regarding for
Yeah,
media.
we are just revising important terms and terminologies which we have learned in this paper. It's a quick revision. So in between, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Actually, we are done with the syllabus. We are just quickly revising all the terminologies. Okay.
So, hello.
Yeah. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Shall I continue? Okay. I'll send the link of the earlier classes as well. Okay, don't worry. So, media exposure, right? We were talking about media exposure. So, everyone who has access to radio, or television, or print, I told you they does not necessarily use them. So, only those individuals who actually expose themselves to the media are the media audiences. Okay. One second. Yeah. Am I clearly audible? Okay, see, again, I'll tell you, no one is exposed to the total content of any medium, right? So no one listens to all the programs broadcast by radio or radio programs, right? Similarly, it is impossible to watch all the programs of Doordarshan or any TV channel. So many people, they do not even glance at the commercial page of the newspapers as well, editorial page of the newspapers. So there are many young people, especially students, who read only the sports page, so or entertainment page, right? So audiences can also be seen as program specific or content specific. So that is populations actually exposed to specific media content. This is known as media exposure. And another important aspect of media behavior is that all users of media content are not, uniformly exposed here. There are people who listen to news every day without fail. So others may listen to news, say on an average of 5 days a week. Still, others may be listening to news only once a week or even less often. And of course, there are people whose exposure to news on radio is nil, right? So this way we can term them as media exposure audiences. Then we have media effects. See, another way to think about audiences in terms of individuals who have been exposed to mass communication products and have undergone a change in their knowledge, okay, or opinion, attitude, or behavior. So a person may not recall anything of the information, received after listening or watching a news program, right? So the same person after watching an advertisement may immediately rush to buy the advertised product. And voters generally do not change their voting preference after listening to election broadcast by the representatives of political parties. Okay, so these are the media effects. We have different types of audiences as well. Okay, see, we have something called as duality of audience. Means it is the most important or interesting feature of mass communication audience. It is the dual nature of the audience. Okay, see, at one level, media audience is a collectively formed in response to media content. Okay, and it is defined by attention to that content. So what a newspaper is, for example, we can say, when a newspaper is launched, people gradually start reading it. Okay, then gradually, after few years, when another newspaper come into market, gradually they lose their interest, right? So there are few papers, a few media houses, those who have created their own audiences, loyal audiences. So alternatively, we can say that audiences may be conceived as collectivity that exists already in the systems, and mass media may begin to cater to its information and entertainment needs. Okay. See, for example, Krishi Darshan, they may their aim is to cater to the needs of the farmers, right? So Yuvavani attempts to cater to the needs of the youth. Similarly, Femina is meant for the women, and whereas we have this conferences, seminars, these programs, they are aimed at, then meant for intellectuals, right? So in this way, audiences are also divided, and it depends upon the duality of the audiences. Okay. So it also, the types of audience also, the audiences can be distinguished based on their demographic characteristics and uh, through their mental ability as well. Okay, we can define the audiences as elite audience, general audiences, we have specialized audiences, right? Audiences with special interest and niche are known as specialized audiences. Like I said, we have this Femina magazine aimed at women. We have Chanda Mama, it's a children's magazine aimed at children's, right? So we have all these types of audiences. Okay. And if you have your syllabus in front of you, please go through it and let me know if you have any doubts. Or you want me to repeat anything? I gave you an assignment in last class. I think Vanaja is not here. About website designing, how to create a website. Do you have any doubts from the last class? You're clear about all these terminologies? Understanding of how ICT and new media works?
Yes, from.
Yeah. So in general, we can say that ICT is the technology required for information processing. In particular, the use of electronic computers, communication devices, and software applications to convert, store, protect, process, transmit, and retrieve information from anywhere and anytime. Okay. So information and communication technologies can be defined as a collection of technologies and applications which enables processing, storing, and dissemination of information by electronic means to a wide variety of users or clients. Okay, thus increasing the efficiency of information related human activities. And ICTs are also characterized by the speed of their technologically advance and the rapidly increasing range of applications in many sectors of professional and personal life today. And additionally, thanks to digitalization, it is today possible to reduce all sorts of information and data to binary digits. And technological innovations have the potential to democratize access to and use of information, but at the same time represent a sometimes a threat to equal access and information dissemination, as we earlier discussed about digital divide. So right now we are in a network society. We have moved on from concept of all agricultural society, industrial society, information society. Now we are in network society. Okay, any other So you're clear about convergence as well. Now we have 5G, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can mute yourselves and speak, and unmute yourself and speak, and you can discuss.
Yeah,
So
ma'am.
you think
You were
there's a
telling
lot of
about.
impact of new media, right?
Yes.
And the traditional media like newspapers, magazines, radio, television have been affected in several ways, right? By the revolution in these digital technologies, especially the internet and the World Wide Web. We also discussed in earlier classes about social media as well. New media, social media, and their presence. Let me share the link in the chat box, okay? So that you can go through all the class lectures.
Yeah, please, madam, please.
Yeah, please give me 1 minute.
And the only,
Yeah.
I don't say the only, but the negative parts of the social media is like, or maybe the new new media, which is internet. So we are getting many fake news.
Yes, yes. We also discussed how to, in the last class, we discussed this aspect. There are various laws also, how to combat this fake news and how to verify the authenticate the news. Especially fake news has been circulated on WhatsApp a lot. So we have several websites on social media as well. Now we have this alt news for fact checking. So fake news, there's a lot of fake news, and there are few mechanisms are also there. There are a lot of these days there have been misleading and fake news is they are misleading information, and they have been presented as news, so they are also damaging the reputation of a person these days, right? So and also these fake news, they are unbelievably, they are also earning money through through advertising revenue by uh, disseminating all these fake news.
Right.
Yeah, is particularly it's a propaganda.
So
With they are fabricated, no verifiable facts or sources. So what do you think, how to combat this fake news, like at a as a generic audience, so how to fact check this false information or fake news? They they deliberately circulate to misinform the readers, right? So yeah.
So we have encountered, I mean, not come actually, we have come up. I saw a person giving us at the seminar. We had a specialist who came and who was actually working on this fake news sector, and he was fact checking these any message coming into. So he gave us few hints where what we, as an individual, we are supposed to do whenever there is a message coming in, instead of sending it to multiple. So he termed as PARA Pari. So something we were educated on the seminar day about P stands for pause, A stands for ask, where did you get
Yeah.
this, and what is, and I sorry, R for research yourself,
Yeah,
about the message, and
it's very
I
important. Yeah.
and I is for information, that you have to inform, or if it is correct, then yes, it is informed. If it is not, then also it has to be informed. So Pari is something that we were told to keep it in practice.
It's very important to provide fact check. And also we need to keep in mind, we need to check the sources, right? From where it is from an authorized source,
Exactly.
official source, the source of, yeah, that also we need to cross check.
So these four items that we was talking about. So we'll have all these you first pause yourself, then you ask
Mm-hmm.
for information. Okay, where did you get this information from? So that is where source
Uh-huh.
research, and then inform or investigate.
Mm-hmm.
This is
That's
what.
so it's a new concept, Pari.
Yes, it is fun.
Research is, of course, it's a very important element. Before trusting any source, first we need to conduct our own research.
Research. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's what authenticating the sources.
So, and like we have these days, we have hackers. So we say ethical hackers. So
Yeah.
nowadays, with the new emergence of this new media or ICT that we call now, so we will have more jobs on this fact checking as well. I feel so.
Uh-huh. True.
Because fake
So
news, there is no way that we can put a stop on the fake news. I mean, who
yes, we
creates it
cannot
actually?
stop it. We can, yeah, we
But at
can
least
watch. We
we
can
can
control.
at
Yeah,
least, yes, control.
or then we can demystify the fact news.
Yep,
Yeah.
is through and to educate every individual how and
Mhm.
it has to be done.
Yeah, that's true. So, and it's need of the hour. It's very important
Yes,
thing right now. Yeah,
yeah.
we need
We'll
to
have to
demystify.
actually conduct the
Yeah.
same kind of seminars or workshops to where we can stop these fake news. So
Yes. Yes. And all it's necessary in all the educational institutions as well, all the universities.
um, that was actually
We should
there
come
was
together and organize this kind of seminars or workshops and yeah.
there was actually in the seminar that we had last month. It was very wonderful from all the five bench people who were in this that meeting. So
Hmm.
if you were on if you attended that, then you would have an idea. I hope.
Yeah. Hope so. If you have any link, you can also post. Meanwhile, I have posted the link to all the previous lectures.
Yes.
This is the official YouTube channel
Okay.
of Ambedkar. Yeah. So there you can find all the previous lectures. Still, we have tomorrow is the last class. So if you go through all those lectures and let me know if you have any doubt, so we can clear that in tomorrow's class.
Great. Definitely.
If you have any difficulty in understanding any terminologies, I think as this is a very new subject for you all, so
Yeah.
I understand it will be difficult, but still, but if you look at otherwise, if you look at this subject, see it's a daily use of technology which we are using, right? Now we are communicating through the use of technology, right?
Very true.
Yeah. So if you observe in your day-to-day life, it will be very easy for you to understand how this technology is impacting, right?
Right now. So
Okay.
person
And
with
one assignment I gave,
little
yeah.
technically sound would easily understand the subject, and I don't think there would be any difficulties in it.
Yeah, yes, yes. And if you see, yeah, already you have your social media accounts, right? So I in the earlier classes also I gave some assignments to students. I told them to create a profile on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And yeah, so create a website on GoDaddy.com. Just choose a domain name, and yourself can try. Okay, if you can create a blog on WordPress. So please go through those earlier classes. You'll understand, and then we can come back tomorrow and discuss in detail
So
all the aspects, right?
right.
Okay, so we'll end the class now, and then we'll meet tomorrow at 3.
So thank you.
Welcome.
Hello? 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 चिट्ठी करा बेटा
Meeting was important है भाषा.
सामने कॉपी रखी है.